There is another fire that's being started right where it originally started, by that trash can about a block away from where we are. There's a group of people in the road there that are just grouping together. They're just in the middle of the road starting a fire. And then there's still a lot of people over by the old LA Times building. And now that it's, I don't want to say it's cleared out because it hasn't, but I'm able to see a little bit better. It looks like it's completely tagged as well with graffiti. Now, the fire engines that were here, I did see firefighters get out. They went beyond the barricades. Then I don't know where they went after that. And now they've left. And then there's also, I think that there could be police too on the other side of the barricade, but I can't tell from where I'm at. But I do see a lot of activity at the headquarters here with officers going in and out as well. And again, the LAPD headquarters has also been tagged, happening right in front of these officers that are right in front of me here too, as people are making their way back and forth here. But there's something going on at the LA Times, the old LA Times building. I'm not sure what the interest is in that area or why people are still congregated over there, but there's definitely still seems to be a big group of people over there. And again, starting a fire. Now I'm looking at our camera, and I'm trying to describe here what I'm seeing. I see a guy there, and it looks like, okay, now I have an idea of what's going on. So the protesters they have like barricades up from the street. They're using those as barricades, and they're moving, and they're walking there. I don't know what they're using that as like shields. Those street signs, not street signs, those street blocks. And this is similar to what we saw earlier today as well too, as they were using the furniture from the park as barricades as well. And that's about as much as I can see here. I don't know where they're advancing to or where they're going, but that's what it looks like here as far as I can tell here. I don't see any law enforcement over there, but I bet there is law enforcement. I just can't see it.
Lauren,
and again, all this happening as traffic is still moving. Go ahead, Leslie.
Yeah, plenty of people still in this area, in the downtown area. Lauren, we want to get to Assemblymember Mark Gonzalez here with us. Assemblymember, can you hear us? Okay, we want to bring your mic up. Give us just 1 second. It looks like we can hear you now. We spoke to you yesterday as the situation was unfolding. Now we have today where I would say we have noticed that the violence really escalated today. We saw multiple fires, CHP vehicles being destroyed, as well as Waymo vehicles being lit on fire. You put out a statement a few moments ago. Can you tell us, just run down what and how you're feeling?
I live here in downtown, between downtown and Chinatown. As a resident in this area, I'm watching my streets, my community get completely destroyed by people who are here to just sabotage our community. This is not a protest. This is a sabotage, and that's what they're doing. They're feeding right into the Trump administration's hands about what they said they were going to do. These are reckless opportunists who are here to destroy our community, and they're setting us back on the progress that we need to make here as Angelenos to be peaceful. This is not peaceful. Throwing rocks at cars, on CHP officers, our law enforcement is already spread thin and have to respond to emergencies that are all needed throughout the city, but instead they have to respond to this. This is all inflamed by the Trump administration. These are anarchists who are trying to destroy the very fabric of what our community stands for. Those are not acts of resistance. Again, these are gifts of authoritarianism, and that's what we're seeing at its finest.
Well, Assemblymember Gonzalez, I'll ask you the same thing that we asked Mayor Bass earlier. Then what do the next steps look like in terms of de-escalation? Because we've asked that for a lot of local representatives about how you can avoid having this be the face of what's going on right now, the image that people are going to remember. Because right now, if you see fires and you see things being thrown at law enforcement, that tends to grab the most attention. So then how, moving forward, do you de-escalate and then try to get the message toward what you want it to actually be?
Folks are following folks online on TikTok or whatever sort of social media platforms that they're using. You're seeing that they're doing this. Encourage people to stop doing this. This is setting us so backwards, and we need to be out there. If I had a fire extinguisher, I'd be out there right now trying to help put out those fires. our law enforcement, our fire department, this is not the calls that they need to be responding to. Again, this is giving into that. So if you know people are out there, you have friends that are out there, you see that they're doing it, take a second thought, give them a call, tell them to come back home. This is not what we need to get, we need to be showcased what Los Angeles is about. The Olympics are going to be coming here in just a few years. The world is watching us, and we are setting this kind of a precedent that this is what our city of Angels stands for. We have to pull back. And as much as we want to say that there's peace, these officers are trying to protect. And what we are seeing here tonight is a complete destruction of the fabric of our community. These are not protesters. These are anarchists, and they're trying to destroy our city. And so as much as we can, be online, tell people, get there, pull them back. As community members, we have to do our own community policing on that. If we see that, we got to say something. It's disappointing, and it's heartbreaking to see our city have to go through this. And our mayor is doing everything she can. Our governor is doing everything she can. Law enforcement is out there, as we can see. I can hear them out of my window right now. There is destruction, and people are driving there. Stay home. You have no need to be here in downtown. You are not protesting. You're just creating violence.
Yeah, as we're speaking with you, it looks like we're watching possible smoke bombs, smoke canisters being shot off, but I'm not even sure by who, if it's law enforcement or people that are still out on the streets. But you know, yesterday our focus really was President Trump had ordered National Guard to come in. About 300 came in, and we were hearing from a lot of local officials, including yourself, that this was going to escalate things. The reality today is, earlier today we did see the National Guard for a brief moment interact with the crowd, I should say face off with the crowd. But since then, we have not seen them leave the federal building. And in fact, many of these people now facing off with our local law enforcement. So what action really needs to be taken to de-escalate this situation?
The goal for sending the 2,000 national troops, which by the way was not even coordinated with our own governor, so there's multiple violations that are there as we speak. But the reality is that we're not utilizing the National Guard to protect us from what is happening right now. It's our own sheriff's department. It's our own LAPD. 17,000 of those combined forces out there that are responding to. We all saw that gentleman in that minivan that was going, doing donuts by Union Station and heading to Boyle Heights and dropping off the car and finally got arrested. I mean, so many different. It's a game of whack-a-mole. That's what I'm seeing. There's so many different areas where these places are going, and it's putting a strain on our own local resources. But again, it's our own local resources that are protecting us, not the National Guard, and that's what Trump ordered them to do. And they're not doing that. There's a very limited amount of them here anyway, and so. As I'm looking at the screen with what you guys are showing, it's all of our own local sheriffs and LAPD who are responding to this to try to de-escalate the situation, not the federal administration. And they are trying to hurt us and showcase the fact that we can't necessarily cover our own backyard, and we are. But our own community members, the own folks out there, the anarchists who are creating this violence, who are out there to create stress, they are not here for the cause. They are here for themselves.
Assemblymember Mark Gonzalez, thank you so much for giving us another day of your time. We certainly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, well, we're continuing to monitor the situation there in downtown LA as we approach the 11 o'clock hour this Sunday evening. You notice the large law enforcement presence there. It looks like the 101 southbound still closed. I mean, we mentioned that hours ago about how there was so much debris and so much damage. But
take a look. It looks like the possible sparks are coming from that bush. There are people that are, I don't know if that's, I'm hoping that's water. They're trying to douse it to put it out, but I really don't know what it is. Mike?
Well, we were just talking about that, John and I, where we can't tell if somebody from the crowd started the fire or if it happened when sheriffs were launching, they're doing flashbangs and some other things over there. So it's hard to tell. And I hope that person is using water. But, we saw earlier with the CHP card, they absolutely were not using water. So hopefully that's the situation here. And it is water. And, well, there it goes. So that's not off to a good start, but we'll see how that goes. The good news is it's like the pretty green vegetation here, so hopefully it doesn't burn as thickly as some of the dry stuff. But that person, if he was trying to put on water on it, well, now he's walking away from it. So that lends you to kind of believe that maybe that wasn't the case. So we'll see. And there you've got that green laser again. And I'm John and I have been talking about this, and I'm becoming more and more, I don't want to say convinced, but I'm more and more of the belief that is on the bottom of one of the sheriff's less than lethal weapons when we see that. So because every time I see it, it does appear to be coming from the direction of the sheriff's department. So we'll see. Now they're of course going to have to deal with this fire that is absolutely growing. So let's see, John's going to follow it back. Yeah, it's coming from sheriffs. So that must be on the end of one of their less than lethals. Speaking of which, we are going to, in a couple minutes, Sheriff Luna is going to join us to kind of discuss, their role in this. They've been asked to do mutual aid and all of that. Now, here's another problem where the fire department's going to have to try to get in there and deal with that. So hopefully that happens sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and the difficulty with when one of these fires starts. Okay, that person is continuing to drop something on that fire, some sort of liquid, and someone just threw, I want to say it's a firework in their direction, Mike, but we have seen some of the sparks start to fly when law enforcement uses projectiles here.
Yeah, and John's telling me that was a flashbang.
Oh, okay.
That they used here.
I don't know. Maybe this person was trying to help the situation. We can't really make out
it
what's
looked
happening.
like a bottle, but I mean, regardless, it's this fire's certainly grown now in that bush there. So that's going to be, it's tough because you're going to have to squeeze into a really tight area here.
Well, what we've seen with all the fires, right? It takes firefighters a while to get here because of their safety.
Yeah.
In this case, I'm not seeing a crowd surrounding here, which hopefully would make it easier for them to get here. But if they have to navigate through some of the blockades, some of the streets that are blocked off, each time we see a fire, firefighters aren't able to respond as quickly because they have to navigate this situation. Yeah,
and this one growing pretty quickly here as we keep an eye on it, but
sparks.
Yeah, a lot of sparks.
Embers, yeah.
And I mean, boy, you just got to hope that you can get on top of this one pretty quickly. But right now, we haven't really seen much of. I know Leslie made the point that there's not much of a crowd around here, but it's been a minute since we've been able to see a large crowd elsewhere. Obviously, we're keeping our eyes on a lot of different things right now. You just see this large law enforcement presence right here in the center of your screen, but no other demonstrators or protesters or anybody else that we're keeping an eye on at this very moment. So let's see if we pin around and notice anything. But no, primarily it's law enforcement that's taking up your screen.
We're gonna continue to monitor this, but I think we want to go to our Lori Perez and what she's seeing there on the ground. Lori.
Yeah, you might be able to see a stream of LAPD cars going by us. It has been a night for these officers. In fact, we just saw one of the cars going by rattling on a flat tire as it drove by us. I mean, they have just been under assault for hours now with rocks and bottles and anything and everything being hauled at them. Across the street, you can see a line of police officers. They are blocking off the street. This is Main Street in Aliso. They are blocking the way towards City Hall in the background. They do not want to let any crowds that should converge in this area. They do not want to let them back towards City Hall at all. And there are lines like this on the overpasses and on the streets towards the downtown, starting on Alameda and then here on Main Street, on Spring Street, and then I'm assuming also up on Broadway, although we have been able to see, if we can swing around, we have been able to see some fireworks going off on Broadway. So it seems that perhaps some protesters might have, or some agitators at this point, might have assembled up there, perhaps because there's not as strong of law enforcement force up there. But we have been watching as fireworks have been going off. You can see LAPD overhead, still trying to track everyone. I'm sorry, did someone try to talk to me? Okay, so we're here on Main and Aliso, still keeping an eye on things. We have not seen any groups of people heading back towards this area, at least where we are here on Main and Aliso. So they are not trying, at least from this vantage point, to get back into the downtown area. We do understand that that is an area that law enforcement wants to keep clear. They certainly don't want them near City Hall. They do not want them near the detention center where they caused so much damage last night. They really want people to go home. You can't stay here, but you got to get out of here. That's the situation where we are at this point, guys.
Lori, thank you so much. We want to get to Sheriff Luna now. Sheriff, can you hear us?
Yes, Leslie. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. We've been monitoring the situation since about 4 o'clock now. We understand that you guys have been called for mutual aid with LAPD. What is your role now? What has been the sheriff's role tonight?
Earlier tonight, the LAPD requested assistance from the sheriff's department. We ended up sending well over 100 deputies. I think if you're monitoring the situation, you see our deputies out there, and not only out there, but doing a great job. So not only are we doing that, but I also put in a request for mutual aid for law enforcement agencies from the rest of LA County and other agencies from outside the county. So what you're going to be seeing in the next, shouldn't be too long from now, you're going to see a lot of law enforcement officers, deputy sheriffs coming in to assist our brothers and sisters at LAPD. We have additional CHP officers coming in as well. So I'm going to send this very strong message. Earlier today, there were some really good people out there protesting and demonstrating. And then you had people who were acting unlawfully, which meant they were attacking police officers, deputy sheriffs, and causing a lot of destruction. If you are out here and that's what you're doing, there's a high likelihood you are going to jail, because part of the resources that I'm sending into downtown are our sheriff's booking team. And they are able to book many people at one time as the police officers and deputy sheriffs take them into custody. So a word of the wise, go home unless you want to end up at one of our county facilities tonight.
And Sheriff Luna, this is Gio here. Is the expectation there in that case that this is for a specific set of time, or just indefinitely until this situation resolves itself?
We are here until we bring calm back to downtown Los Angeles. We want to see people get out of the streets. We want to see, you see cars driving recklessly, fires being started. We don't want any of that. And we don't want any of our businesses downtown impacted. You need to get out. And this is a warning to everybody, or you're going to end up in jail.
Yeah, Sheriff, it's Mike Rogers here. I wanted to ask you.
Okay, we're going to work on getting Mike Rogers back up for us here. Sheriff, yesterday we heard possibly your deputies may have been hurt from a Molotov cocktail. Can you give us a description? How are your deputies doing out there? And do you have a number of arrests they have made?
I do not have a number of arrests yet. We will have that for you maybe by tomorrow morning. Leslie, I really appreciate you asking about the well-being of our deputies. People forget that when police officers and deputy sheriffs go to work, they have families at home who are very concerned about them. They're praying that they come home safe, that they come home non-injured. And unfortunately, yesterday, during the unrest in both Paramount and Compton, we had deputies who were out there trying to keep the peace, trying to do their job, and they were violently attacked. People were throwing things at them, which included high-powered pyrotechnics. So I had a deputy who was hospitalized after they experienced significant burns from those pyrotechnics. And yes, we had another individual throw a Molotov cocktail. And I just got to say that it's sickening. That has nothing to do with legitimate protesting or demonstrations. Those are criminal acts that have no business being done anywhere. That everybody should come out and say that is 100% unacceptable.
Hey, Sheriff, it's Mike here. I want to bring up a point when you talk about the injured deputies. There's video circulating, and I'm not sure if you've seen it, but I believe it was either in Paramount or Compton yesterday, where two of your deputies, either were tear gassed by federal law enforcement or some other chemical irritant got in their eye, and they went into a business. It looked like a restaurant, and a Latina business owner was helping them put milk on their eyes to kind of wash that out. This whole situation started with federal law enforcement coming into Los Angeles County and conducting those raids, which, whatever your opinion on it is, it happened, and it has caused what we're seeing now. Are you worried that when the federal law enforcement come in and do these types of things, that it erodes some of the trust that your department has worked hard to build with the community?
That's an excellent question, Mike. And yes, absolutely. The LA County Sheriff's Department, and I could speak for almost every law enforcement agency here in Southern California, we've been working so hard to build bridges, build relationships. That's how you reduce crime. That's how you positively impact quality of life. And a lot of what we've seen in the last week is very concerning to me. And again, our federal partners, if they are out and they are trying to take into custody individuals that have committed violent or serious crime, there's a due process. Hey, get them off our streets. But as they're going out and, we're taking cooks and gardeners and maids and hotel workers into custody, that's what's causing a lot of our challenges here. That is breaking public trust. And I'm really hoping, and I don't want to sound extremist on any side, because I think we have to be moderate to solve some of these very tough challenges that we have in front of us. But hey, I was born here in LA. I've been here my entire life. We know the culture here. Being an immigrant or having immigrant families, that's part of our rich culture. That's why people come visit this area. And what you hear, this rhetoric about all these immigrants committing crime, our statistics don't bear that out. Yeah, we have people who commit crime. We don't care if they're immigrants or not. We have amazing deputies who will respond, investigate, take people into custody. But the majority of the people committing crimes here are not immigrants.
Yeah, and Sheriff Luna, we have heard, some situations where the communication between federal law enforcement and specifically the LAPD has just not been cohesive, hasn't really been there, has been off. Have you had communication with federal officials, including Department of Homeland Security or ICE, as they say, and we hear they're going to continue their enforcement for the next at least 30 days here in the Los Angeles area?
Yes, I've had recent conversations with them, and my goal is to work on better communication and coordination. And the individuals that I'm talking to, they agree with that. There are things we definitely disagree on, but there is something we do agree on, and that is I don't want any federal agent getting hurt or attacked violently, and I don't want any of my deputy sheriffs or any police officer being injured or hurt. I take it a step further. I do want to show humanity and empathy towards community members as well. So we'll continue to work on it. Jim McDonald's comments were not far off from the same way I feel, but Jim and I have a good relationship, and our goal is to have a good relationship with our federal partners. Historically, have worked very well together. We work on human trafficking. We work on drug interdiction. We work on gangs and violent crime. We have been very successful together historically.
And just to follow up, you have made it very clear that the Sheriff's Department, because of our local laws and our state laws, you guys do not work with ICE on these ICE detainments, ICE deportations. But do you suspect that maybe federal officials will now be giving you guys any sort of heads up when they're doing these immigration sweeps?
Leslie, you're 100% correct. The LA County Sheriff's Department does not go out and enforce civil immigration laws. We don't have the staffing nor the training nor the time to do that. We do at times get involved when they're going after a murder suspect or a child molester or something like that. But yeah, we definitely need to figure out a way to communicate better. I don't see a path where we will be notified specifically about specific locations. And honestly, that type of communication, if you really look at SB 54, is something that we're not supposed to be doing. So that's a good, healthy discussion that I think we have to all have to try and prevent a lot of what's happening in the last couple of days here in our Los Angeles.
LA County Sheriff Robert Luna. Sheriff Luna, thank you so much for giving us time tonight. I know it's late on a Sunday night, but we really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. You guys have a good evening.
Thank you, Sheriff Luna.
You as well. And as we were wrapping up with Sheriff Luna there, we were noticing here on the live shot from SkyCal that fire in that bush that we were first drawing attention to you, where we didn't know whether someone was trying to ignite it or perhaps try to stop it with some sort of bottle. Fire engines are right there, just recently arrived as that fire has now started growing a little bit. This is one of several fires we've seen set throughout the city all throughout the evening. Let's get right to Lori Perez, who's down there. And Lori, it looks like, tell us what you're seeing right now.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We walked up here. This is the Broadway overpass over the one. I think we should.
Okay, it looks like we lost our Lori Perez there, but I believe there was a fire behind her. Maybe this one.
Yeah, and I think she was saying, LA City Fire got here. A sheriff's department moved forward to allow LA City Fire, that light force from LA City Fire, to come in here and put this fire out. I was wondering for a second. So LA Sheriff has a very cool tool. It's called a fire cat. It is essentially a bear cat with a fire hose on it. So I was wondering if we were actually going to see that come in here and try to put that fire out. But it looks like they were able to push the crowd forward enough to get LA City Fire in here to be able to put that fire out. And thankfully that vegetation that it's in, now you see water being put on it, is pretty green and not dry. Yeah. So it grew, but not as kind of rapidly as we would see if everything in there was that dry kind of brush. But, luckily they're getting a handle on that, and we'll see. And John can look for us too, where our group is now. And if we're kind of starting to finally dissipate out here a little bit. I mean, I know there's still some on the corner here, but as they push through, the groups get smaller and smaller, which is really the goal. You heard Sheriff Luna, go home or go to jail. And I did reach out to Torrance Police because I heard that they were coming up to help in downtown LA, which would be indicative of what the sheriff had just told us.
Yeah, he said it's going to happen tonight, pretty much, that we are going to see outside agencies come to help, not only LAPD, but LA sheriffs that have already been out there. He said about 100 deputies already deployed in this area. We see many of them. In fact, they are standing right there in front of us. Those are LA County Sheriff's deputies. I believe we want to get to Lauren Posen. Lauren, there's a skirmish line formed where you are.
Yeah, Leslie. Yeah, right next to LAPD headquarters there. You see the officers are getting information there. And we still have the officers in front of us here, too. They're going to be pretty stationary, I think, throughout the night here. Again, blocking off these roads here. There is something going on by that old LA Times building. I should also say, now that I'm looking over this way, I don't see that fire anymore. But there's a lot of attention being put over there by these people, these agitators that are out here tonight, still in front of that building, that it's completely tagged. Go ahead, Leslie.
No, sorry, Lauren. We were talking to our producer here, but we want to turn it back to you and what you're seeing there on the ground.
Okay, so now we have more patrol cars coming down the road here. You can probably hear them here. And here they come. There's been a lot of activity over here, a lot of police coming and going. But again, this is the first time we've seen this line being formed here next to headquarters. And okay, they went the other direction, so you can't see them now. But we still have had the choppers above us, the police choppers as well. And we're just kind of, it's so odd. It's like you have traffic going here, and then you have all this action going on here too. And it looks like the police, they might be just going the long way around as they try to secure this area more. I think, as Mike has been saying, they really want to close in on this and break this group up. And the more they do that, the better handle they're going to get on things here. And again, over there by the LA Times building, the old LA Times building, it's been a lot of attention over there with these protesters and agitators as this night has gone on. Again, remember, no one's supposed to be here. They declared this, told everybody to leave. No one's left. Oh, some people have left. I shouldn't say that. There have been people who have left, but there's still been a lot of attention over at this building here for some reason, and I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it's because it's next to the PD headquarters. I don't know. But and again, we also saw earlier, maybe about 15 minutes ago, we saw the the people over there using the street signs as barricades, the street blocks as barricades as they were advancing with law enforcement, and then they went back as well. So there's definitely something going on. The choppers also have the big spotlights down too, and they keep shining it down here, trying to get a feel for what's happening here on the ground, or better grasp.
Yeah, we heard from
that's
the
really
sheriff.
it for right now. Again,
We
and
heard-
I know the sheriff said that they're going to have enforcement, right, Leslie? They bring extra police, law enforcement out here. So maybe I know I did hear that the sheriff's department was over here, but I couldn't see. I just heard it.
Yeah, and his big message tonight was either go home or go to jail. Lauren, it really does look like this crowd is just made up of a couple dozen people. Now, obviously, they're still causing quite the disruption, but it has really thinned out, correct?
Oh, right. Yeah, it has thinned out. Absolutely. But they're still there. And that's the problem, I think, tonight. Police, they don't want them there because they're obviously doing something they're not supposed to be doing over there. Now, here come this line of police cars. Let's see what they do here. Okay, they're in the intersection. And see, again, the cars are not moving out of the way for law enforcement.
And that's been a problem
But I
throughout
guess
the
you could say
evening,
that'd be
right,
typical
Lauren?
for any day.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, between them and the firefighters. Okay, now here we go. We do see patrol cars at the corner there with the old LA Times building. I just heard a explosion go off. Didn't look like fireworks. Yeah, there's something going on over there. I just can't see from where we
Okay,
are, and I
You
don't
see
know.
LAPD officers getting out of their vehicle as some of the people that were standing on that corner are now running away.
Oh, okay, let me look closer here. Okay, now I have the closer
yeah.
zoom on.
Yeah, LAPD has definitely gotten out of their vehicles to address the situation here. Most people ran off. It doesn't look like they detained anyone there. We saw a couple of the people there just put their hands up and try to comply. And you're watching some of the other group just kind of take off down the street.
I do want to mention, too, for people at home who've been watching this with us, the law enforcement has been incredibly patient. Okay, there's another firework going off with this group here by this building. I mean, this has been going on, I don't know, for more than 3 hours. I mean, so they really have been patient in trying to let them do what they want to do over there. But when they ask them to disperse, they're not listening. Okay, what's going on over here? Let's show over here. Okay, the patrol car. I think they had an issue with those people over there. I think they were confronting the officers in the car, possibly. I'm not sure. But now the officers are going on the other side there, probably to match up with the LA Times building over there. So you can see here, everything changes so quickly. As I'm explaining one thing to you, something else is happening on the other side of me. It's a lot going on here. Plus, you got all the noise of the choppers and the sirens. It's a lot happening here. And you still, which just amazes me, you have people walking around as if it's just a normal Sunday, like regular people, just kind of just in the area with their dogs, just walking.
Yeah, we've seen
all
that
this happening.
really throughout the entire evening, Lauren. It's sort of a striking image, really, because it's a reminder that for a lot of people, they still have to go about their daily routine as best they can, even when they're surrounded with so much chaos in their backyard. And, just seeing these images come across and you hope, and I know we've been saying this for more than 24 hours now because you've been there for a couple days. And when we asked you this last night, it's you're hoping for the best when you're going through those ebbs and flows and things seem like they're on a downswing and they're quieting down, but then you have a bunch of other you have a bunch of other fireworks and other things that start to happen. So we'll keep an eye on that. Thank you for you, and we'll check back in here in just a few minutes with you. In the meantime, we'll continue to monitor this situation as SkyCal gives you the wide view of downtown LA there, and law enforcement establishing their lines and trying to keep things under control.
Yeah. And Gio and Leslie, I want to point something out because as we've talked about this discussion of federal immigration, we've got obviously the clashes that have happened because of it, but the city of Glendale is one of a few. I don't think there's very many. I know LAPD and LA County Sheriffs don't do it, but apparently, and I didn't realize this, the city of Glendale had a contract with ICE. So they had an ICE detainee contract that they have now canceled as a result of this. So this was something where essentially if ICE needed them to hold somebody, or if they had somebody in their custody and they would have otherwise been released, they would have continued to hold them for ICE. The city of Glendale tonight saying they're canceling that contract.
Yeah, that was a big controversy earlier this week. I know that City Council also addressed that and noticed that they did cancel that as of tonight, saying that originally it was almost like grandfathered in, but they were the only city around their area that still had that situation. So that is news to many people who have been following that situation. But we continue to monitor what's happening in downtown LA. I will tell you, for the most part, it looks like it is cleared from protesters, but we continue to monitor situations throughout the area, and we will continue to do that throughout the night.
And on that note, we're welcoming our Channel 2 viewers to our breaking news coverage. Another night of chaos in downtown LA with several fires set throughout the city. Yeah,
LAPD declaring an unlawful assembly for all of downtown.
And now we're hearing reports of businesses being looted. You can see officers at one point outside of a store. You still see them there, where it appears the glass door in this video was shattered. Also tonight, things taking a strange turn.
Yeah, we were keeping an eye on a fire set by protesters when we saw a minivan. You see it here doing donuts in the intersection. People then began throwing rocks at that van. The driver speeding off, almost slamming into a crowd, especially where our Lori Perez was standing.
Yes, he just came right at us. Oh my God.
A terrifying scene there. Our crew was not hurt. They are okay. The driver of that minivan then took off in reverse, driving backwards for a few hundred feet, then got out to move a trash bin, got back on the road, almost hitting pedestrians and other drivers, and was chased by protesters. He then tried to get into another car at one point. You see it there, before he was eventually taken into custody.
And this was a scene earlier tonight. Downtown LA, destruction, explosions heard, fireworks set off. CHP patrol cars were destroyed. There were at least 6 Waymos burned and a big mess left behind as immigration raid protests do continue for a 3rd day.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Gio Insignares.
And I'm Leslie Marin. While the immigration protests enter its 12th hour just today alone, they started out peacefully around 11 this morning, before then getting out of control around 1 this afternoon. This is where things are right now. Take a look. This is from a bit earlier when a crowd set a small fire there in the middle of an intersection. This lasted for quite some time, but they were able to quickly put it out, and that crowd then dispersed. I believe this is a live look from SkyCal now.
Yeah, you're seeing that crowd on the corner of the street there. Notice traffic still moving back and forth. It's sort of been that way for at least a few hours right now, where at least this crowd is not in the middle of traffic, but you see the skirmish line there from law enforcement. On that note, let's get back to Lauren Posen, who's been in this area all through the night. And Lauren, what are you seeing right now?
On the street to the old LA Times building, I see officers that probably are in SWAT gear. They're in that truck there. You've probably seen this throughout our coverage tonight. They arrive in these big trucks and they're all loaded in the back there. Let's see if they get out. They possibly are gonna, it looks like they're slowing down. So again, there's something going on at this old LA Times building. That's why there's so much attention over there. Not quite sure what. The crowd does seem to be thinned out from what we've seen from earlier tonight, but we continue to see fireworks going off, very loud fireworks, some of them being set off in this park across the street, others just right in the middle of the road. I don't see that there was a fire earlier near the trash can. That seems to have gone away. And again, traffic is still moving here on both sides here, which is just really weird to see because all this is going on and then the cars are still going through. I also want to mention too, the whole downtown is just covered in graffiti. I've been to multiple spots throughout last night and tonight, and now we're in front of LAPD headquarters. And although there are barricades in front, that didn't seem to stop people from tagging LAPD headquarters there. And of course, the sidewalks are all tagged. tagged. The federal buildings are all tagged. Everywhere I look, I see tagging. And I know you might be thinking, well, yeah, but you're downtown. Tagging is not that unusual. This is a new level of tagging. I mean, it is completely covered. And of course, we can't really show you what the words say because they're all profanity words. We can't show you that on TV, but they're all tagged here. Again, now the line I showed you earlier today is no longer there. Now, I will say over here, though, the officers have moved their cars up. I think they're just getting in position here. I've noticed that, too, right in front of City Hall. They're moved their patrol cars up and just kind of be stationed there. I'm hearing honking going on at the intersection a block from where we are here, which is not unusual from what we've heard throughout the night here. Again, we've heard honking, we've heard screaming. As people are going by, they're yelling at the officers right in front. Some people are yelling at the officers right in front of us. It's not even, the officers aren't even flinching with that. It's not impacting them at all. And that's really what's going on here. It's, you know, it changes by the moment here, but it seems like, I don't want to say it's getting calmer because we all know what happens when we say that things take a turn, but it's definitely quieter than what we've seen in the last, let's say, 15 minutes.
Yeah, Lauren,
Leslie Geo.
We're seeing, thank you. We're seeing, you know, that row of officers there on First Street and a small collection of protesters. You see a couple still holding up a banner, waving flags, and getting, you know, a couple of them are getting up a little bit closer to law enforcement. You see one with their phone there. That's, you know, a much smaller amount than what we were seeing beforehand. In some cases, even going face to face with officers. But like we mentioned before, when it turns into a numbers game, there are certainly a lot more law enforcement personnel than there are protesters and demonstrators in downtown LA and across the general area, especially when you consider when we talked to the sheriff earlier and he said that there will be more sheriff's deputies and law enforcement that will be down there to help out eventually.
Mike, but you're saying what exactly LAPD was worried about here?
Right, and two things are happening. First of all, John, I want you to show them the windows again. This is on the side of the LAPD headquarters building. Dean, on our digital desk, had seen some social media chatter about them, about people using scooters to break the windows, and John's going to have to probably slide to the right a little bit. But right on the side of the LAPD building there, we just noticed multiple windows, multiple windows that are busted and broken there on the side of LAPD headquarters. So we're looking at that. We're also getting some word, and as soon as John gets a shot of this, then I'll have him go look over there. But yeah, there you start to see some of the windows, especially on the left there, right there. So that is probably what prompted, remember earlier when we saw the fire department coming in?
Yeah.
That's probably what prompted that. I would assume that the shattered windows set off some sort of alarm that then prompted a fire department response. Quickly, John, 8th and Broadway, we're getting some reports of an Adidas store being looted. So we're going to go move John over there and take a quick look at that. It shouldn't be too terribly far. So we'll let you guys know what we see when we get there. But John's going to go look at that right now.
Yeah, SkyCal is making their way to that area. That would be at least the second business we're hearing possibly looted. We want to get to our Lori Perez. Lori, what are you seeing?
Yeah, we're here on the intersection of Spring Street and Aliso. Where we are, it seems that law enforcement like us are kind of on standby, waiting to see what reveals itself in the next couple of hours. Here you can see they are blocking the entrance. They are not letting anyone or any cars down towards City Hall, down towards the downtown area. If we take a look at the Spring Street overpass over the 101 behind me, you can see another layer of law enforcement has lined up there, again, not letting anyone past that intersection towards downtown. A lot of activity all around us in the sky, choppers overhead, and of course all sorts of law enforcement all around us, really keeping an eye on the situation. This area further down, that's where they pushed the agitators about a couple of hours ago down towards Chinatown past Olvera Street, and that's where a lot of that chaos unfolded. Some of the things that you showed at the top of the show, where there was that out of control minivan, and then really a lot of fireworks being set off, a lot of protesters throwing rocks and bottles and anything that they could at passing LAPD officers, or passing law enforcement officers, I should say. And then additionally, also launching those rocks and everything at that Chevron station, really causing a lot of damage there. You know, you've been hearing a lot about the damage that has happened along these pathways, you know, and I'll just echo that. It's on the sidewalks, it's on, you know, the buildings, it's on windows, really everywhere that they went through, they left their mark, literally. So that'll be a big cleanup once things get back to normal. Who knows when that will be? We certainly hope that overnight things do de-escalate and really that law enforcement is able to get a handle on things over the next couple of hours. Guys, back to you.
Yeah, we want to go right to Mike Rogers here. Mike, is this that Adidas store you were talking about that was possibly broken into?
Yeah, and as John's coming around with SkyCal, these buildings make it hard for us to get a good angle to see, but it does look like I see kind of a shattered window. Certainly LAPD is here. Actually, even a shattered window on the second floor right there,
Yeah,
which is
there it
interesting.
is.
So I don't know if they tried to throw something at it from the inside. That's kind of weird. But as John comes around, we may be able to get a better look at it. But this was the report at the Adidas store here. This is at 8th and Broadway. John, what's on top of that police car right to the left there? Now, there's that door, same way that the other store was.
Yeah.
The door was right on the flat. So it looks maybe they recovered some of that merchandise that those officers are bringing back inside of the store. Interesting how that's happening. I wonder if they're using a tool or something like that to have those doors fall in the exact same way. There's a bottle of liquor right there too, that he just put on the ledge. So we're getting a crew over there right now, and hopefully we'll be able to get some more answers from law enforcement. But, you know, what also happens here is, and especially if this is a multi-story business, is those officers have to go in and clear that whole business to make sure that there's, you know, nobody left inside. We saw them do that at the last one where that was looked like a Jordan store. They went up on the roof where there was a basketball court and had to clear through that. So they'll have to do that here as well and make sure there's nobody inside. It looks like they probably already have done it, or here comes a contingent of officers coming out of the store now.
Yeah, we also saw a couple people walking by with their phones and taking video, presumably of the damage or anything else they could get an eye on. You know, we've seen a bunch of that constantly throughout the night and throughout the early afternoon, where you have people, in some cases, just, you know, taking video, taking photos of either the damage or the chaos or any assortment of things that was going on across the area.
And you wonder if they were able to make any arrests, because they did have a ton of merchandise in their hands, boxes. Arms full. Oh, yeah, you can see a lot of those boxes that were sifted through, or, you know, people whoever was in there trying to get that merchandise. But it's interesting. You did see that liquor bottle that they put down, and then just piles and piles of what looked like merchandise that they were bringing back into the store. So maybe they were able to get there in time to arrest some of these people, or, you know what, it could have been one or two people. We don't know.
And a lot of the times, you know, while we're still working together details and figure out exactly what went on, we really just have the video and the body language of officers to go off of right now. And based on their body language right now, things seem to be, you know, relatively under control, in the sense that they are returning some of the presumed stolen merchandise. There's a liquor bottle there sitting at the edge of the table. You're going to have to clear things out, as Mike said, and make sure everything is secure. So, you know, right now it seems like it's in the aftermath of whatever happened. But Leslie, as mentioned, this is one of two, right? Because it was that Jordan store a little bit earlier where we saw some shoes scattered around near the front entrance, and the door, the window smashed in a similar way to what we're seeing right there, right underneath the Adidas logo. You see that door and slash window smashed down onto the ground, and now they're setting up police tape.
Yeah, and just a sign of people taking advantage of what has been a very disruptive night throughout downtown LA. We know at this hour, LAPD has declared an unlawful assembly for all of downtown. We also spoke to the sheriff, whose message was go home or go to jail, even speaking about calling for mutual aid tonight, Mike.
We do, and I'm hearing we have a ground shot from Scott Mackey, and this is actually going to be the other location. So you're looking at the Adidas right here. Down the street, which we're working on showing to you in just a second, was where that Jordan location was. And I'll have to see when we look at the shot if it was actually a Nike store, if it was just a Jordan store. I think they still have that brand deal with Nike. So we'll see if that was what that was. But, you know, this is now the second business. And then, of course, we're also, my colleague Esteban out on the assignment desk is hearing some more over back at First and Broadway, which is back where that was. We have those live pictures we can show you now right there. And there is that store where this originally started. So while we're looking at this, John, if you can go back over to First and Broadway while we look at these live pictures from Scott Mackey, we'll get him back over there and try to get a look at that situation, potentially at the old LA Times building where Lauren Posen has been all night, which we know there is a group of people over there. So John's going to work his way back over there. Left side of your screen, live pictures. And I believe that was what, 11th and Broadway? 6th and Broadway, I'm
6th
sorry.
and Broadway.
And just, 2 blocks up at 8th and Broadway was where the Adidas store was. So who knows if it's the same group. The way the door was looking, it looked like it was done in a similar way. So obviously they'll have to sort that out. And on the right side of your screen is Chopper. Oh, look, there's another street fire in the street.
At the top.
Dealing with a marine layer there, so we'll get a little bit closer as we can. And I can't tell if this is back at 1st and Broadway. I'm looking for the old Times building. Yep, right there. Okay. So we'll come around and look at that. As you can see, the marine layer is getting pretty soupy out there.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for our chopper to really get those shots from far away. You can see inside that store. We don't know what it looked like before, but you can see it doesn't look like much on those shelves there or those racks out in front. You see that door that was shattered. You see one shoe there,
scattered
but
shoe.
A couple scattered, scattered shoes across the ground there. But yeah, it looks like possibly this gentleman may be involved with the business, and because he's been out there all night. But that's the second business. This was actually the first, I should say,
Right.
Yep.
Of 2 businesses that we have seen possibly looted. And then you're taking a look at LAPD headquarters where several of the windows have also been shattered there.
And
Take
folks
a look, you
walking
can
around.
see, it looks like possibly a police detective walking around here.
And that is where, for everyone's reference, LAPD headquarters is where most of the administrative work is done. There's not necessarily, black and white patrol cars that come out of there. That's where all their specialized detective units are. That's where the chief is. That's where all their kind of administrative units are. And now we're looking, John, right in the front of the steps there of that LA Times building is where we were hearing, and we see that crowd down there. So we'll look in there and see what they've got going on down here. As you see that crowd right there on the sidewalk.
Yeah, this might be the one of the, and I say this in quotes, one of the larger crowds we've seen as we get deeper and deeper into the night, because setting up a little fence and barricade there. That's something we've seen throughout the evening. I mean, when the first time we were seeing protesters and demonstrators putting up their own barricades were grabbing benches, right, and other items to just sort of set it up along the street. This one is a legitimate fence going, it seems, from the tree all the way across, and then there's this fire right there in the middle on those 2 barricade items. Those were 2 of the items, in fact, similar to the ones being used earlier on the makeshift barricades that folks were lining up against officers. But there's that group of officers set up right there on 1st Street, haven't really moved too much and just keeping an eye on the situation. A few protesters there. You see the ones with banners going up to the line and sharing their thoughts. But for the most part, it's a bit more scattered than normal. And it's getting a little bit more development here with the fence. Now they're moving it along up the street, it seems like.
That's definitely one of the bigger objects they've used tonight to try to do this. I wonder where they even got that fence.
I think normally that area just across the street from LAPD that is now an empty lot, that is always fenced off there. And it looks like this group of people have pulled that fence and into the roadway, blocking 1st Street there, right in front of the old LA Times building.
And Leslie and Gio, something interesting here. LAPD Central Division, reiterated their unlawful assembly announcement, but this time said those with cell phones in the area of the Civic Center have received the alert. So I'm wondering if they're using the wireless emergency alerts to target people in that area, because so the way the unlawful assembly works is they have to verbalize that somehow to the crowd. And usually the crowd is much more condensed, and they do that. We'll see them bring in loudspeakers or PAs of the police cars, and they'll make those announcements. But when you have the crowd that is kind of splintered off and is in not really one condensed area, you still have to figure out a way to notify them that there is an unlawful assembly. And it looks like they may be using wireless emergency alerts to get that message across to the people in that area.
That is so interesting, because I've covered plenty of these protests and I've never actually seen them use this way of alerting people, and using cell phones. But in this case, they're using all their resources to make sure people know, hey, this is a situation going on. If you can't hear us saying it, if you're not looking on social media and getting our alerts, you will get an alert on your cell phone to tell you this is an unlawful assembly. You have to go home. If not, we have the right to arrest you.
Yeah.
We also have the right to use less than lethal munition here,
which we certainly have seen throughout the day here, as this crowd is just sort of scattered. But now you're seeing some
Fireworks?
movement.
Yeah, and fireworks, they're using less than lethal rounds at them as well.
Okay.
So it looks like the LAPD may be engaging with them a little bit more.
Yeah, there you go.
They're firing those off.
Yeah, you're seeing them now.
And again, you watch those officers in those situations right now where we're watching, it looks like they're shooting them at the ground. And so then they're ricocheting off. And it's certainly enough to get their attention, you know, that, hey, this is, we're shooting these at you guys, and we will, you know, can be more direct with them if need be. And you see a couple of them are going into that little cove there of the old LA Times building. I can't tell. And I don't, if I remember that building correctly, and John was in downtown for a very long time. Is there, that's the only entrance, right? I don't think there's windows on that ground level for them to destroy or get in that way. Yeah, not that he knows of, but yeah, that is the entrance to get into. It's not the LA Times building anymore. So now it's a historical lobby, and they can go in there. People can go in there and look. So it doesn't, I can't tell if they've gone in because that cove is kind of so far back that it's hard for us to see with an angle. But they're certainly hanging out in there, and then you've got that fire burning in the street.
In the meantime, you're seeing on the left side of your screen that live shot from one of our photographers of one of the reportedly looted businesses in the area. I believe that's the shoe store, the Jordan Nike store, I believe. And then the man in front that you see, I believe that's the same one that's potentially involved with the store. We've seen him on the phone multiple times and hanging around the area here. But there's scattered shoe. You see one there, and a number of other scattered items. Meantime, on the right side of your screen, there you go, and you see that long line of law enforcement right there on First Street, and a couple of other folks just phones out, taking videos, taking photos, and they're much more scattered at this point, but not hesitating. There you go, right there at the top of your screen. The lasers are up, and the less than lethals are being used once again.
And what's interesting here is that they're shooting them down the street where we're seeing those people bring that fence and place it to block the street. But there are just a few people, 4 people, standing right in front of officers, and the officers are not, taking any action against those people, probably because they aren't, inciting much violence, but they do have the authority right now to arrest them if they wanted to.
Yeah, and I'm curious, John, we're looking for the fence. I don't know what happened to it. I couldn't tell if that was it back over there at the corner. I kind of thought they were going to try to block off the street. I don't really know what the point of the fence there would be, but
Oh yeah, they're blocking off what, the sidewalk?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not down there, but it seems like a weird place to drag. You're gonna do all that work with the fence, and then you just kind of block off the sidewalk. Oh, there it is. It's laying on the ground. They gave up on it. Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, that is a good sign that law enforcement does not want to see anything blocking the street. We've seen this fire. This was a fire that sparked, got put out, and is now back.
Fire that won't quit. I think this is the one that Lauren was looking at for a good chunk of the night, and I can't tell. It looks like a barrel or a trash can that's in there, but every now and again somebody comes and tosses something in there to keep it moving.
Yeah. And this is the situation we have been seeing throughout the night. The progress that law enforcement has made, although we spoke to Sheriff Robert Luna, who said that they have called for mutual aid, that we should expect law enforcement agencies from across LA County. We were talking about cities like Torrance possibly making their way down there to just basically wrap up this situation, help out LAPD. We're not seeing very many people still out there tonight, although we are hearing reports of looting that had happened, in the last couple hours here, that law enforcement is being alerted to now.
And the sheriff making that message clear: go home or go to jail, right? So it's with the increase in law enforcement and the decrease in crowds and protesters and agitators, you would think that things would be winding down, hopefully, but of course there are still these hot spots, quite literally in some cases, with this fire here and multiple other ones as well, because we were seeing over by Chevron station that dumpster fire truck and that dumpster fire, and then fire engines trying to get to that. There was the fire in a bush as well that we were
they were keeping an eye on. It's just